We should not forget that the most delusional person in the United States is Donald Trump. And he literally believes that when he says something, it is true. And I'm quite convinced that he's going to go through with those tariffs and with his mass deportation. When the massive inflation that you've predicted, I think very correctly, happens, he's going to need a scapegoat. He won't be able to blame the migrants. They've been rounded up. So there's really two broad choices. One is to go abroad and start a war, say, with the Chinese, because they're to blame. And the other is to say the Democrats or the liberals or anything, something like that, domestically, and round them up and use those internment camps for other purposes. Which do you think it's going to be?
Yes. Look, I'm with you on the point, as I tried to make it, that his economics is incoherent. And I understand what you're saying on the premise that he goes ahead with it. But let me respond by first quarreling with your premise. I'm not so sure he'll go ahead with it because it's risky for him. It's risky to have another inflation. And yeah, he'll try to blame it on this one or that one. But as Kamala Harris learned, she could blame it in every which way that she did. The bottom line was poll after poll, including the exit polls during the election, indicate that the old remark, I believe, made years ago about what decides an election, the remark, it's the economy, stupid. I don't remember who was supposed to have said so. But the economic dilemma of people was that between the time Biden was elected and this election, prices had gone up dramatically, and nobody had done anything to bring them back. All that Biden's and the Federal Reserve were able to do was to bring the rate of growth down to 2 to 3%. And even that is a very shaky kind of business. So people were stuck with a constant reminder of the inflation. It helped Mr. Trump immeasurably. I think his advisors are going to say to him, hey, yeah, it might be awkward for you to back down on the immigrants. It might be awkward for you to back down on the Chinese tariffs, but it's going to be mighty awkward for you when you have an inflation to deal with. Do you really want to go down that path? And so that's what they're going to do. They're going to weigh the costs and benefits of doing what they promised versus looking like flip-floppers versus facing an inflation and knowing that the Democrats will be all over them, blaming them for it. And you're right, they won't have the immigrants to blame, and they won't have the Chinese. Chinese don't raise prices. It'll be very hard to do that, even with this country's level of economic literacy being what it is. They would have to have a war or something distracting, immensely distracting. So let me add to your anxieties what it might be, which is really to discover a vast, horrible conspiracy here in America. One having nothing to do with economics, where they can make an issue out of it and keep the headlines devoted to that issue and to all they're doing to deal with that issue. In other words, they'll need, for example, what Hitler had. Pick out Jews or pick out gypsies or find some part of the population big enough so you have a lot of hoopla that you can target, claim that they are in some mysterious way responsible for the inflation. That doesn't have to be all that well worked out. Look at what Americans accept as economic discourse in this country. But then make all the excitement about what you're doing. You're rounding them up. You're putting them in jail. Lord knows, During World War II, that was done to the Japanese Americans on the West Coast. So we have practice in this country at doing that sort of thing. Everybody will forget the apologies given to the Japanese community after the war because there was no basis for it, whatever. Anyway, and all of that can be done this time. And my guess is those are the calculations that they're going to likely make. And I'm, again, not to quarrel with you. I think your analysis was good. I just think it's a little bit more dicey that I know some of the people advising him, and they will advise him, don't do that nonsense with the tariffs. Don't do that nonsense with the immigrants. He's probably not going to listen and go ahead with deporting immigrants, but he will probably listen with the Chinese. Remember that the worst tariffs on China were actually put by Mr. Biden. Give you an example. Starting around 10 years ago, the whole world, every automobile maker in the world, almost without exception, undertook to work on producing electric cars and vehicles. Elon Musk became the richest person in the world because he did it first. But everybody's done it ever since. And they're all trying to now do what Musk did, only produce a better car at a lower price. And in the competition to do that, one company and one country came out on top. And as should surprise nobody, that country is China. And the company, which Americans don't know about yet, but they will, is called the BYD, three initials. B is in boy, Y is in yellow, D is in dog. The BYD Corporation makes the best electric car and truck at the lowest price. Nobody can compete with them on either the quality or the price. You will not see such a car, a BYD, on the roads here in the United States. But if you were to take a trip today to Europe, you'd see them all over the roads in Europe. Why? Because Europe had a tariff until recently of 20-something percent. Now it's 30-something percent. But Mr. Biden raised it from 20-something percent here to 100%. So, for example, it means if you could buy a BYD car from China for $30,000, you would have to pay here in the United States $30,000 to go to the Chinese manufacturer BYD, plus another $30,000, 100%, to Uncle Sam in a tariff. So it would cost you $60,000. So you're not going to do it. All of your competitors around the world buying electric cars and trucks are buying BYD cheap, but you can't get it because of your government. So you're going to have to pay Ford or General Motors or Tesla 30, 40, 50,000, much more, because they can get away with charging it. They don't have to worry about the competition from BYD. You know what that's going to do? Hurt American competitiveness, hurt American jobs. You won't hear about that. You'll just hear about, I'm hitting China with tariffs. That's what I mean. It's an incoherent, nonsensical program. And my guess is he's going to hear a lot from his advisors telling him, be very careful. This could come back and bite you in the rear end politically in a way you do not want to have.